All right, good morning, everyone. So today's shiur is titled "Importance of Tefila BeTzibur." Chazak u'baruch to the Tefila BeTzibur goers. So there's just a few Mareh Mekomot in Shas. There's a pasuk here in Mishlei, and hopefully to shed a little bit more light on the importance. So let's go through the first Mareh Mekom, Brachot Tavchet Amud Aleph. So the Gemara goes as follows. We'll read through the Gemara, and then basically on each source, I'll just add a little bit more to it. That's all. Okay. What does it mean when it says Va'ani tefilati? To me is tefillah, my tefillah to you, Hashem, and it's a time of ratzon, a time that you want tefillah. When is that time? Says the Gemara. When is that time that you, Hashem, want tefillah? That's when the tzibur, the minyan, is praying. There's a bright like this as well. Rabbi Natan Omer. How do we know that Hashem never hates or never is disgusted by a tefillah of a tzibur? Meaning, maybe you can have a person who prays, but he's a rasha. He just did a sin and now he's praised. We'll diverge on a little joke. This is a joke. How do we know Esav was Sephardi? How do you know he was Sephardi? You heard this one? How do you know Esav was Sephardi? Because on the same day that he did 5 big averot, he did 5 averot. Yes, actually, this was parasha. This was parasha Toldot. So Esav, he was a wicked man, and he was sent, and he did averot. But on the same day he did the averot, he killed Nimrod, all these things. On the same day he did the averot, he went to get a bracha from his father Yitzchak. So sometimes you could have someone, huh? Some people don't get it.
I don't want to get it.
Some people said it. So therefore, you might say, this guy now he prays. You just come from an averah, now you pray. Get out of here! I don't want you. Just an averah. So, is there a situation where Hashem never is disgusted by tefillah of a person? If there's a BeTzibur, this guy walks into minyan. Hashem's not going to say this guy is there. He just did averah. No. This guy, he's part of the minyan. I'm never going to be disgusted by this guy's tefillah. So he's in there. Shneimar, and the Gemara brings psukim. Hen el kabir velo yimas. Chtiv pada b'shalom nafshi mikerevli. Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Kol ha'osek b'Torah u'gemilut chasadim u'mitpalel b'tzibur. Anybody that works with the Torah, learns Torah in a deep way, like it becomes his esek, like his business. In his business, he makes sure that things are running smoothly, and he's putting a little effort. Osek b'Torah and chesed, and praise with the tzibur. Ma'aleh ani alav ki'ilu peda'ani. Hashem says, I make it as if He has redeemed me. This person that does this has redeemed me, says Hashem. Li ulvanai, me and to my children. Mi ben umot ha'olam, from among the nations of the world. Amar Rish Lakish says, Kol mi sheyesh lo bet knesset ve'iro, anyone that has a synagogue in their city, ve'ero nichnas sham litpa, but doesn't go. He doesn't go to pray there. He has a shul in the city, but doesn't go. Nikra shachen ra. He's called a bad neighbor. Shneimar kol amar Hashem al kol shechenai hara'im anogim b'nachala shenichalti tami et Yisrael velo od el shegorem galut lo ulvanav. Rather, not only is he called a bad neighbor, but he also causes exile for him and for his children. So on this source, the Maharal, just to explain his last part of why he's called a bad neighbor and why does it cause exile. A bet knesset is called a place lichnos, a bet kinus, place of gathering. So this is a place of gathering, and you don't show up. This is a place where the tzibur goes, and you are poresh minat tzibur, and you separate yourself from the tzibur. So that's called a bad neighbor automatically. You're not doing what the group is doing. You're a bad neighbor. And if the group is here and you're out of the group, you're like in exile from the group. You're not doing what everyone else is doing. So you're in exile yourself, and that causes further exile. But when you come to Bet Knesset, you come part of the group, and where are you coming to? The Bet Knesset, which is a Mikdash Me'at, which is a small Bet HaMikdash, is already a pasuk in Sefer Yechezkel, which calls a Bet Knesset a Mikdash Me'at. So you're coming to this Mikdash Me'at, you're the opposite of Galut. You're bringing Geula. And that's a zechut for the Geula when it's Pidani, that you're redeeming me and my children when people come to Bet Knesset. So we're doing an unbelievable thing, adding, as they taught us in school, another brick to the Bet HaMikdash. Every time we're bringing the Geula closer and closer when we go to Minyan. Let's go to the second source. Brachot Davav Amud Aleph. Tanya, Abba Binyamin Omer. Yahya Binyamin. En tefila shel adam nishma'at ela bet hakneset. Tefillah of a person is only heard in the synagogue. So of course a person can pray in other places, but instead, so if a person, say even beyachid, we just saw a man, this guy tzaddik, this guy, we knew, he knew he was going to pray beyachid, right? He could have prayed in his room. He came to Bet HaKnesset. It's a higher level, right? So the tefillah of a person is heard only in the Bet HaKnesset. Shneimar, lishmoa el harina ve'el tefillah. Bimkom rina, sham te tefillah. In a place of joy, that's where tefillah needs to be. Amar Ravin bar Ravada, Amar Yitzchak, Minayin, Shakadosh Baruch Hu matzu Bet HaKnesset. How do we know Hashem is found in the Bet HaKnesset? Shneimar, Elokim nitzav ba'adat el. U'b'nei la'asara shemtodim shechina imahem, shneimar, Elokim nitzav ba'adat el. How do we know Hashem? So the Gemara tells us Hashem is found in the Bet HaKnesset, and when there's 10 people, the Shekhinah is with them. So hold on, it sounded like
10 people,
if there's 10,
if you have 10 people, it's going to be heard even if you're not in the Knesset.
Exactly. When there's 10 people, the Shekhinah is there. When HaKadosh Baruch Hu is matzu in the Bet HaKnesset, so you can say to yourself, hold on a second. If Hashem is in the Bet HaKnesset, I come here one person, Hashem's here already. If I have 10 people outside of the Bet HaKnesset, then Hashem comes. If I come inside the Bet HaKnesset, so maybe I don't need 10 people in the Bet HaKnesset. So we know this already from the Mishnah in Pirkei Avot, which tells us that when 2 people are learning Torah together, the Shekhinah is with them. It starts from 10 and it goes even when a person by himself, the Shekhinah is with him. So hold on a second. Shekhinah is with me at 1, at 2, at 5 people, at 10 people. So what's the difference? So we learn from here there's a different level of concentration of the Shekhinah, Hashem's presence with you. It's not just all or nothing. Hashem's presence, how much of Hashem's presence is with you? I mean, we could pray here in the synagogue, and we could pray right outside the synagogue against the wall, right? No, Hashem's presence is stronger here. It's there as well, when Hashem's with you, but it's here and more. Now, you want to pray at the Kota, you want to pray Mekobot HaKedoshim, right? So we go to a Kever, so if I'm over there, if I'm over here, right, if you're within Dalet Amot, there's a stronger concentration of Shekhinah's presence as well. So you want to get it the highest in the Bet HaKnesset with a Minyan. Let's go to the third source. Megillah Chav Gimel Amud Bet. Menani Mil Amar B'chia Bar Abba Amar Yochanan Tamar Kra V'niktashti B'toch B'nei Yisrael. So this is talking about where do we know the concept of Minyan, 10 people? Where do we know that is the magic number? So here we're going to do some acrobats, huh?
When Abraham was trying to save
Sodom. Okay, good. Good.
All the way down. Yeah.
Very good. So we're going to talk about that in a minute. So like this. The Torah says, "V'nikdashti betoch bnei Yisrael." I became holy from among bnei Israel. So now, from among bnei Israel, it's not singular; it's plural. How much among bnei Israel do I become holy in? Now, also the word "v'nikdashti," the word "kadosh." There are certain parts of Tefila that are called kadosh, kedusha, kaddish, right? And those things require minyan. Sefer Torah, it's kadosh. So those things require minyan. So v'nikdashti betoch bnei Israel. So I become holy from among bnei Israel. How much is among? So the Gemara continues. Kol davar shebikdusha lo yeh pachot me'asara. Anything of kedusha cannot be with less than 10. My mashma. Where do we know this from? The Tanya Rabbi Chia. Atya toch toch. Here's a gezerah shava. We spoke about a gezerah shava at the restaurant with Ephron and marriage. Kicha, kicha. Which is when I have two words in the Torah. There's a lot of words that are similar. V'adaber Hashem el Moshe lemor. So I see el over here and I see el over here. Maybe I can make a connection or no. These connections have to be from tradition, Mesorah. So we have kicha from Sideh Ephron. Just like by Ephron, Avram spent money. So to vayikach ish isha, person to pay money to get when he gets married to his wife. There's another one, which the Gemara here says toch toch. It says v'nikdashti betoch bnei Israel. K'tiv hacha. This is continuing in the source. It says over here v'nikdashti betoch bnei Israel. Uktiv hatam hibadelu mitoch ha'eda. By the story of Korach, it says separate yourself from among this Eda, this group. Like, they use the word Eda in English, Adith, right? Adith is whatever, right? Ada, no, that's a different word. So Eda is like a congregation. So separate from among this congregation. Ve'atya Eda. There's another Gezerah Shava from the word Eda to Eda. Tichtivatam ad matai le'eda hara'azot. Until when this Eda, this bad congregation. Where is that talking about? The Meraglim, the spies. We know there's how many spies? 12 spies. So where's 10?
12.
No, it says
To separate themselves.
two separated.
They said the truth.
2 were good. Pinchas and Kalev. Yeshua and Kalev. I knew something was wrong there. Yeshua and Kalev. So 10 were Reshaim. So at Matai La'edahar, until when this bad group, and this bad group is talking about 10. And it has in this pasuk a word called Eda. And we have a tradition, this is the Gemara, Eda connects to the word Eda in Korach, until when, as the pasuk says, Hibadilu mitoch ha'eda, separate from that congregation. And hold on, in this pasuk it says the word mitoch also. Mitoch connects to the pasuk v'nikdashti betoch b'nei Israel. I become holy from among b'nei Israel. So toch, eda. Here's talking about 10, the 10 spies, and that's I become holy among 10. But Moshe Feinstein points out something here unbelievable. So the proof of 10 comes from 10 wicked people, 10 miraglim at the end of the day, right? So he learns from here a Jew is a Jew, and there are certain crazy situations. Maybe now it's not so applicable these days, but for the most part, a Jew is a Jew, and everyone's considered part of the minyan. And we learn it from Rishaim. These guys were the Rishaim, and they are part of the 10. Now, the 10 we see is Avraham Avinu as well, and there wasn't 10 there. It didn't work out. So we also see from Noach that there were 8 people on the Teva. Right? 8 was Noach, his 3 kids, and the 4 wives, and the world was still not saved. So number 8, the 8 tzaddikim didn't work out, right? So 9, so now you can say, okay, 8 doesn't work out. 10 would have worked out. What about 9, right? So I don't know. I was thinking that there was also a 9th person at the time of the Teva. Oh, I don't know if he was a tzaddik at the time or not, but maybe he had some righteousness. He told, so. He was hanging around. So he hung in there. So there was 9, and the world still didn't work out. So if there would have been 10, it would have worked out. So 10 is a big force. 10 is a big force. Let's go to the last source. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
From your shiur the other day.
Yeah.
We were talking.
But wine.
After we left.
You can drink wine even beyachid. Yeah.
After we left the place where they
the death.
And I was asking Rabbi Zrihan, a person can hear, they participated in minyan all their lives, and something happens, and after they're 50, let's say, they lose their hearing. They've always been part of a minyan. And then they walk into a minyan, and there's 9 people, and that's the 10th person. Is that person considered, that person can be part of the minyan? Oh, even though they can't hear though? They can still be part of it.
So there's certain restrictions, as the Rabbi Zrian answered, there's certain restrictions that a person that's deaf can't do, right? So if he can't hear the shofar himself, he can't be motzi. He can't do it, right, for
Does it
someone
have to
else.
be part of it? Oh, he can be there.
He can be
He
there,
can be there.
Somebody else.
Okay.
but he can't blow the shofar
You
for
have a
someone
person who's
else.
asleep in the minyan.
Oh, wow.
You have 9 people, one person is asleep, you don't have to wake him
We had that all the time.
up. Wait,
That's a normal.
You know what,
So you don't have to be,
You know what, it's a very big sin to wake somebody up, to disrupt their sleep.
No, I don't know about that.
If they're sleeping, it's very bad to wake
The
them up.
Menishchai says if you see someone sleeping outside of the sukkah on Sukkot, wake him up. Say, go in the sukkah. That's a tough one. But it reminded me of a story. They say the Gaon Mevilna, every Purim he would cry, and like he had a time where he would cry, and the students like, what are you crying about? He says one time there was a time that the Gaon Mevilna tried to go to Eretz Yisrael, to move to Israel, and he made back, and maybe he went back, and his whole stories as to mysteries as to why he went back. You familiar?
He didn't make it.
He didn't make it, but there's a story as to why he changed his mind and what happened. Some say I heard once that he met the Chida, but the Chida doesn't write about him in the Shem HaGdolim. It's interesting things. Anyway, so supposedly on his travels, now back in the day, they might have heard of a great rabbi, but they might not have known who he was. And he could be among regular people and didn't know who he was. I'll say another funny story in a second, if you indulge me. So the Gaon of Vilna was in a place, and he arrived. It was Purim, and he arrived late, and he missed the Megillah. And he was okay to read the Megillah himself, but he wanted a minyan. Now you could read it biyachid, but he wanted a minyan. Now people already started celebrating Purim. He said, "Please do me a favor, come into my minyan. I'm going to pay you." So, okay, fine. So this guy paid. He paid the people to stay for minyan. Now he started reading the Megillah. Once you start, you can't stop. You can't, He started. These guys already heard Megillah. Now they're paid to listen and thing. But after a few minutes, they got restless. Okay, that's it, let's go. And the people left in the middle. And he was very, very sad about that he started. And he could, and then he finished the Yachid. Every year after that, he was crying on Purim, remembering that Purim that he read, that he was B'Yachid. My Rebbe, Rabbi Lamed, said this. It's a nice. So there's a story of, I think, Reb Chaim Brisker, that was invited to speak in a different city, and he took a train with a few of his students, but it wasn't apparent to everyone who he was. People didn't know. They heard of a great rabbi, but they might not have seen him, and he was traveling city to city. Story goes that when he got onto the train, so he went to go sit down, and another Jew said, "I need a seat," and he sat down right before him and knocked him over. And he got up and he stood up, whatever it was. And then when they got to the station, there's thousands of people waiting for the rabbi. And now this Jew, he sees, that's Rav Chaim Brisker, I just knocked him off. And he went, and he felt so bad what he did. He went over and begged Mechila, I'm sorry, can I Mechila, please, Mechila. So Rav Chaim Brisker answered in a classic Brisker way. And he said, look, I give you Mechila, full Mechila.
I don't know if God's gonna.
I give you, what?
I don't know if God's gonna forgive you.
No, it isn't that. He said, that's a Moroccan answer. That's a Moroccan answer. The Brisker,
that's a touchdown.
the Brisker answer, that's a good one. It's a Moroccan answer. The Brisker answer is like this. I, as Rav Chaim, give you Mechila. But I, as the poor Jew you thought I was, does not give you Mechila. Because if I was a poor Jew, you wouldn't have came running to me and asked Mechila. So I can't give you Mechila for that. Right? So that's amazing, right? So sometimes people will ask for forgiveness, do something because they know your status now, they know who you are. But if I was a regular guy, you wouldn't have asked, right? So that's just another story you reminded me of. Okay, let's look at the last source. Birov Am Hadrat Melech Pasuk in Mishle, with a lot of people, you honor the king. First part of the pasuk. With a lot of people, you honor the king. If the king was coming, right, you want to get the most people together to honor him, right? So in shul, in addition to the 10, in addition to the minyan, the more people that are there, they honor the king more. Okay, so 1 second. Okay, so too as well, Berov Am Hadrat Melech, if there's a lot of people growing together, learning together, praying together, it's easier, it's more contagious. Everyone is together, everyone's going to shul. You know, I think Chuck mentioned it, right? Like yesterday, he saw a bunch of his friends becoming, so I gotta go with them, I gotta be, so something along these lines. If there's 1,000 people in the city, only 10 go to the minyan, it's hard for that 10 to spread to the 1,000. But 1,000 people in the city, 900 go to the minyan, these 100 feel stupid that they're not part of the minyan. And then they're gonna eventually be affected by it. So the more people that go to the minyan, the more people that learn, the more people that are invested in their Judaism, they're helping the rest of the community be connected. Like, you know, someone told me in New York, you look like, you know, if you don't go to shiurim during the week, you're like a bobo. What are you doing? Everyone goes to shiurim during the week. Or people in Mexico, if you don't learn for 2 hours every morning and then go to work, you look like a bobo. Everyone goes to learn in the morning. Rabbi, correct me if I'm wrong. No, it became like a thing.
Well, in Mexico, a lot of youth, they go to learn every night from 8 to 10. At 10 o'clock, they go to the club.
Okay, that's a
No, I'm
different.
saying to you, no.
But-
No, I'm saying to you,
No, the clubs.
Eh?
It's a great thing.
the beauty, the beauty is
Everybody's got to
that
earn their partner.
it's so engraved
Engraved.
on them that they have to
They
learn.
study before they go.
That for them, well, for them they cannot carry on.
Right, without learning.
Without learning.
Yeah. No, so that's important. Saying that the more people involved, the more it has an effect. So that's also part of the Birov Hadrat Melech. The Rambam in Ilchot Teshuvah speaks about Aseret Yemei Teshuvah, that the holy days, the days of Teshuvah. But he tells us, and I think it's quoted in the Gemara, that when there's a minyan and a person does Teshuvah betoch a minyan, it has the potency of a Teshuvah during Aseret Yemei Teshuvah. 1 second, because again, I'm sorry I didn't review before I gave the shiur. Just 1 second. Okay. Oh, this is a good point. This is a good point from the Chafetz Chaim. This is last week's right Parashat Chayei Sarah. So Eliezer, it's a very famous question that Eliezer comes and we have the whole story of Eliezer and Rivka. And then when he meets the family, the Torah repeats the entire story again. The entire story is repeated. It wasn't like one pasuk, Eliezer told the family everything that happened. Go refer back to what happened. The whole story again is mentioned. Now there's many halachot that we learn from one extra letter in the Torah, one extra word. Hashem gives us just a little bit, and from there we have a whole book and books and halachot. Here we have 2 pages, the one aliyah, the guy's there for an hour. But that so much written on the story of Eliezer. Like we have to repeat the story again. Why are we repeating it again? Why did Hashem give so much real estate to the story of Eliezer? So Chafetz Chaim says as follows. Just imagine for a second, Eliezer is looking for shidduch for Avraham Avinu's son Yitzchak. Yitzchak Avinu is a tzaddik. Yitzchak Avinu is the son of Avraham. So Avraham is a tzaddik. Avraham is Avraham Avinu. Avraham Avinu was very wealthy. He had a good name. So, and also Avraham signed everything to Yitzchak. He's getting the inheritance.
Most eligible.
So, he's the most eligible bachelor in the market, right? He is the number one, yet, what do we see? Eliezer praised HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Hashem, please, if I forget the Lashon, if you have kindness with me, right? Please, Hashem, find me the shidduch, right? So 1 second. 1 second. So we see here, Eliezer's, even if you have everything in line, I'm the best candidate, Tefila is still needed. And that's what the repetitive is to tell us that Tefila is needed. Even without Tefila, you won't have everything. You won't have anything, even if you think you have everything. That's the thing. Without tefillah, you won't have anything, even if you think you have everything.
I think I read somewhere that he also prayed because
Yeah,
he prayed himself because he really wanted in his heart
for his own daughter.
for the
Yeah, but yeah. Okay, a few little tidbits with regards to Tefillah BeTzibur. Shulchan Aruch, Siman Nun Vav, a person should go run to hear Kaddish. Is mentioned there. The Gemara on Shabbat, Kuf Yud Tet Amud Bet, when a person answers Amen Yeheh Shemer Haba with great strength, with great kavanah, it could get rid of bad decrees of 70 years, negative decrees, it could get rid of. Also, this I heard from Rabbi Busu. Rabbi Busu is one of the grandsons of the Baba Sali. And he said that when we're at Kiryat Torah, it's a reenactment of Matan Torah. And I think the way he said it was the person that reads the Torah is like a Kadosh Baruch Hu saying the first two dibrot. The person that gets an aliyah is like Moshe Rabbeinu, he's getting the Torah. And I think the person on the one side is Yehoshua, who was also below, he was on the mountain below, and then you have the Zekenim, the other person on the other side, and then the rest of the nation is everyone standing around. So every time you read the Torah, you're reenacting the Torah. And what happened at Matan Torah? Ani Hashem Rofecha. Hashem was our doctor, and He healed everyone at Matan Torah. People, they missed limbs, or they had broken because they were slaves. When they came to Matan Torah, everyone was perfect again. So it's a big Mount Sinai. Oh, exactly. That's why hospitals are called Mount Sinai, because it was a place of healing. That's why also the sign of the medical is the snake on the pole. The snake on the pole healed the people, right? You know, the medical sign. So exactly, Mount Sinai was a place of healing, and therefore, when we connect to Kriyat Torah, it's a segula for refuah. And Rabuso even said, leave the Torah a little bit open, ben aliyot, a little bit, let the kedusha pour out of the Torah, so the people that can have some extra refuah. So connecting to Matan Torah, connecting to Kriyat Torah, which is only with a minyan, is a segula for refuah.
Can I ask something?
Yes.
Rabush as well has said that because when you read the Torah, it's like Matan Torah, and it was a moment of healing, it's completely haram, asur, to speak during Kriyat Torah. Once he was in a shul, I don't say which shul, and he was hearing Kriyat Torah, and he heard people speaking. Mamash, he went to the Teva and he started Kriyat Torah, and he said what I said. And the Matan Torah is for healing, and now that you're speaking, you are disturbing the refuah. You are about to leave the shul.
Wow. Unbelievable. The Arizal says that the ikar of tefillah is amidah. When we say tefillah, the ikar of tefillah is amidah. And the ikar of the amidah is the chazara. It's the chazarat hashatz. So we have to also make sure that we don't speak during chazara. This is the only time the Shulchan Aruch says, I think it's the only time, gadol avono mineso, that this is so harsh, that the sin of a person that speaks during chazara is so great that he can't carry it. It's so heavy that he can't carry it. That's like whoa, you know what I mean? So we gotta stay. We gotta make sure that during chazara we're not talking. The ketoret, part of the tefillah, gets rid of bad decrees and plagues, and there's a segula to say it from the ktav, for segula for parnasa, segula for parnasa. That's beyachid. So I don't know how that got into my shiur over here, but for Oren we mentioned the ketoret. Ashrei as well. Saying it 3 times a day also could be biyachid. The Gemara in Brachot Avdalet Amud Bet. If a person says Ashrei Shavtecha 3 times a day, he could be assured that he is a ben olam haba. I want to end with 2 points. The first point is, I said this a few times, I really believe it, that Baruch Hashem, we're all here and we're on this trip, and we're connecting to Torah, Yirat Shamayim, to Bet HaKnesset. I really believe that we're here today connecting because our parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, they made right decisions, and they were always connected to the synagogue. The synagogue was the focal point in the community. I give it an example. You could always imagine, let's say you're in Morocco, and there was recently an article I read, and that sometimes financial opportunities arise at that time. Imagine 200 years ago, murmurs in the community that you could go down to Central Africa and there they found diamonds. So you can imagine, guys, let's go down, we can get diamonds. And I'm sure a few stragglers from you, yeah, let's go. People say, no, I mean, I say for Torah, I kashrut, forget it, there's no kashrut there, I'm not going. And they gave up opportunities to be insular, to be part of the community. And some stragglers left, and unfortunately, they, I'll tell you a story. I teach in a yeshiva, and I wrote this on the board, on the whiteboard, and it's there the whole year. I have two sayings. One of my sayings is take advantage. Take advantage of life. Take advantage of BeTzibur. Take advantage of every single thing. So that's on the board. Take advantage. The other thing I write on the board is the following. I'm going to write it here, and you'll see if you can get it. Okay. 1 second. Try it. One second.
You see it?
Maybe I didn't do it right. Hold on a second. Hold on. Oh, no, it's like this. One second. I'll just do this. It's easier this way. Kasher LePesach, upside down. Kasher LePesach, upside down. I wrote that on. I leave it on my board at the school. What does it mean? I once read a story. A guy was traveling in Africa, somehow went to a cemetery, and he sees the guy's name. Imagine this is One second. Now, this is a grave. This is a gravestone. Kasher LePesach, upside down. Reuben Cohen, 1912 to 1970. A guy sees that in the middle of Africa. What's going on over here? Basically, the short of the story is some Jew somehow got lost in Africa, married a Goya, just whatever. The guy died. And the lady knew the guy was Jewish. She didn't know anything about Judaism. She knew nothing. She found a bottle of wine that said Kasher LePesach on it. And she said, these are Jewish letters. And she put an inscription backwards, upside down, Kasher LePesach. That was it. That's it. So I put on the board. I said, guys, you want a life of take advantage, or you want a life of Kasher LePesach? That's what I put on the board for the kids. Right? So I really believe that we are here because of a result of our forefathers who connected to the Beit HaKnesset. They connected to Torah. They had opportunities to go to other places. And they say in Brazil, 75% of the people that from Portugal that conquered Brazil were Jews. And you fast forward, the entire phone book is full of Jewish last names, but unfortunately very, very intermarried. And they have...
There's also a lot of Tanzanian names.
Yeah, a lot of them.
Etc. The Tanzanians, they left in the 1900s.
And they're gone. On Shabbat, there on Saturday, Shabbat, they have a dish. It's like a dafina, but it's like you have to prepare 7 bowls, meat and potatoes and chickpeas. It's like a dafina, but separate eggs and this. And there's a few stories. There's a person that went traveling somewhere and he got to some sort of church, and it was like a really holy day on that day, and like their holy book they took out, the holy book, and I don't know what this guy was doing there or whatever. It was a machzor of Yom Kippur. That was it. It was the machzor of Yom Kippur. That was there. They had, this is the holy day, the holy thing. and there was a story of a person that I could tell maybe the people after, not on recording who it was maybe. The person who was invited to a really high level dinner in Brazil at one of the minister of the government's house. He told me this story personally. He didn't eat because it wasn't kosher. He even ate fruits. It was just, and the minister himself, he said, "Why are you not eating?" He said, "Oh, no, whatever. He said, "Come with me." Comes into his house. This was in his backyard of his house. Comes into his house with this guy's minister. Comes into a room, like a nice library, and he says, like the movies, he presses a button, and the whole thing opens up, and he goes into another room, and it's a library of Sefarim, Shas, and Chumash, and this goy, this minister goy, everything, Torah, everything. This guy said, "What's going on over here?" This guy says, "I traced my lineage, and I know I come from Jews, and I'm undercover because I'm a minister in the government. Please don't reveal anything, but I'm trying to learn about my Judaism. And every time I go to Miami, I buy more and more and more books, and I developed a little library here." But this came from people that were assimilated, and they. So number one, on the chizuk of connecting to Beit HaKnesset, connecting to the community. We don't know what we're doing for ourselves and for our future generations, because we come as a result of people that were always connected, who might have had opportunities to leave the community and be for financial reasons or other reasons, but they stuck to it, and that's why we're here. And I want to add one last point about the Beit HaKnesset, is that look around, people go traveling in Europe, etc. And let's look at Europe for a second, and there's beautiful synagogues there, and real sight to see, and really beautiful synagogues. I remember I was in Venice with my wife when we first got married. We went on a little trip in the summer, Benazmanim, and we took a tour of the shuls. And in one shul, they had a nice like pillar, and they wrote even like this pillar is made out of shaish, made out of marble. It was like it was expensive, and they spent a lot, and it wasn't common. And they wrote that this is made out of marble. Like it was beautiful. But people lived in poverty, especially in Europe, great poverty. But they built their shuls beautiful. This was their value. This was their everything. They might have not had much to eat or much to see, but everything, and it went to the Beit HaKnesset, and that was their glory. And we today go and visit these places as their glory, right? So unfortunately, sometimes you get like you can have a beautiful wealthy minyan, and they live praying still in a shoebox or whatever, right? We got to make the Beit HaKnesset beautiful, right? We got to make
commercial. If anybody wants to make that, please.
Plug in, Kol Torah. We're gonna renovate Magen David. Let's go. Plug it in there. Anyway, but I'm just showing this was their glory. The Beit HaKnesset. The Beit HaKnesset was their glory, right? Let's learn from them. Let's learn from our ancestors. I have one last thing here of Musayov. We didn't go there on the trip. How many people go and pray? This beautiful synagogue, Musayov Minyan Factory. And how the walls are saturated with tefillah, all of our synagogues. B'ezrat Hashem, let's connect to the minyan. Let's connect to Tefila BeTzibur, and B'ezrat Hashem, we'll get all the brachot that's written here and that we mentioned, all the brachot that we haven't mentioned, all the brachot of Tefila BeTzibur. Yes.
No, just to add, the theme of this trip, Shalom Bayit, right?
Oh.
Just that, we wonder where did this Tefila BeTzibur come from? Right? Why is the famous question that why can't a woman count for a minyan? Why not? Right? So the concept, I read somewhere that Tefila BeTzibur came after the Chet HaMeraglim, that because we believe these spies coming are before everybody davened on their own, but because we believe these spies, now in order to reach Hashem, we needed 10 people to actually get a tzibur together and pray and reach Shamayim. But the women, it's told, they didn't believe the spies. They didn't believe the spies. So for them, they don't have to daven with tzibur.
Yeah.
So if a woman says, I want to be part of the minyan, she's actually diminishing her power.
Exactly.
Because she has the power to reach Shamayim on her own.
100% right. There's so much to that. You tell the wife, a man needs a group of guys in order to connect. I need a social group. I need a AA group, right? In order to connect, right? I need a push. You on your own, you can connect. There's so much to that. Chazak.
I just want to say,
Yes.
with your permission, two things I wanted to say. Musayov is in the middle of Geula, of the same Merkaz Ha'ir.
Yeah, it's worth a lot of money.
Very touched myself. I was very, very touched that in the actual building of Musayov, you see it's developed the area, but the actual shul
The same.
is untouched. And it says over there, donated to Mr. Musayov, with the condition that this will be placed of a Knesset forever. Never will be sold to build a tower or something. This Mr. Musayov had a vision. He knew Yerushalayim going to be one day Yerushalayim sells out. He was happy to have the shul over there and untouchable. And I want just to say a quick story of Tefila BeTzibur with your permission. Yeah, even I came very late today. The power of Tefila BeTzibur. I'll go over there.
Chavod, Arav.
Don't get nervous, don't get nervous. 3 minutes. Don't get nervous. Cafelito está esperando, no te esperando.
Me levanté para darte favor, no me levanté para irte.
I want just to tell you the power of Tefila BeTzibur that I think you spoke about that, Rabbi Zulai. That when Tefila BeTzibur, HaKadosh Baruch Hu or the Malachim, they just go straight. You know, go straight. And sometimes what is it's hard to understand. No, but I'm praying BeTzibur, there's nobody bothering me. I tell you a story happened to me when I was 11 years or 12 years old. I went to somebody from Mexico. Somebody, I think Chabad was trying to introduce himself to Mexico. They were trying to penetrate, they were not successful. Vacation on half of December, a Chabad guy came to Mexico. Let's make a camp now December vacation, so let's go to LA to go to Disney World, to the Lakers game. You know, they were trying to penetrate Chabad in Mexico. I was 11 years old, and for a few guys, we were like 10 guys from my school. We went to LA. The problem that tickets were very expensive. Mexico, LA was very expensive. They came up with the idea, let's go Mexico, Tijuana, yeah, in an internal flight, and then basically walk the cross the border. You are in San Diego, and then you take a car, you go to San Diego, see world, and they go into LA. Okay. As you know, I have a passport, American passport, and I had also those days a British passport. My father tells me, he gives me my British passport. I should travel with my British passport. You know, Rabbi is un poquito loco since I was small. I was loco. I'm like, I'm going to America as an American. I'm going as an American, no? I said, my father, no, I want to go to my American passport. Tells me, Niño, I don't have time. I have to go. Just listen to me. Take your British passport. He didn't give me a British passport. Harami Rabbi Zrian, he went behind the back, and I found where is my American passport. And I traveled with my American passport.
You didn't have your British.
No, but I didn't took it. I was loco, a bit Mishnun. I want to go with an American passport to America. You know, I am
I'm a citizen.
those days it was Jimmy Carter, the president in Hashemo. Okay, we go to America. We pass the border in America, open the passport, Okay. Then the guy, Chabad guy, he tells me, Eliyahu, you have a problem. Your passport is going to expire in a week. Now I understood why my father gave me my British passport. Now the problem is how I was going to back to Mexico. If I said to my father, Daddy, I'm sorry, I took my American passport, I think he will fly to LA, Tarsha, give me my British passport and go back.
Is there a halacha on Tarshas? No.
Then I say, Rahama Hashem Yazor, now let's enjoy, Hashem Yazor, let's enjoy, now you're going to see world, let's see Shamu, you know, Shamu, let's enjoy. We'll deal with the issue when it comes. Okay, Baruch Hashem, we were for almost 14 days, 13 days. Coming back, now we're traveling back. LA, San Diego, crossing the border into Mexico, and then taking a flight to Mexico City. I was thinking what we're going to do. I said, okay, you know what? Mexico is it's doable to give a mordida. I would say mordida. To give a bribe. But then, I'm going to be honest with you. Rabbi Zin was a bit stingy. Why am I going to give money to this guy? I live in Mexico. You should let me go. What? My father's paying taxes. Why? Suddenly I had an idea, and look the power of Tefila BeTzibur. I said, okay, Rabotai, we were like 15 guys, 14 guys, I don't know from here. Say, give me only your passport. No, sorry, so I don't remember.
Put them all together.
No, we were waiting for the lines, and you have the Mexican line, and you have the American lines, the international. And I'm watching the situation, like basically, when as Mexicans, like the guy just was doing like that. And at that moment I said to everybody, one second, I need all your passports. I took for all my friends, I took all the passports. The Mexican passport is green. The American passport is blue. Then I say, okay, give me my passports. I hid my passport in my pocket. It was our turn. I say, buenas noches, caballero. Good evening, my gentleman. Yalla, 15 Mexicans. All the passports. Yalla, please, we're going to miss the flight. Yalla, let's go. One by one. And everybody's looking at me and they're laughing and I say, shh, there is no time not to land. Okay, thank you very much. All the best. Without passport.
So yours was in your pocket.
Without passport. And then, Rabotai, years after,
What does that have to do with Tefila BeTzibur?
that's it.
Okay.
He had more than 10.
Yeah.
Years after, I understood the power of Tefila BeTzibur. When you make Tefila BeTzibur, you come as 10 people, the Malachim, they don't bother you. The Tefila goes straight to Kisei HaKavod. When you saw a Tefila, all 10 people together, coming together, there is no Malachim, they don't bother, they come straight to Kisei HaKavod. And that story gave me the understanding, you know what? Where I was crossing a border, one of the most dangerous borders from Mexico to America, or vice versa. You know, they are not so friendly in Tijuana, especially. They are not friendly at all. They are not friendly at all, because the Americans they make crazy the Mexicans to cross. The Mexicans they take revenge to Americans. They give them a hard time to come in. And here the Meshugav Rabbi Zrian, Zama, now he's putting 13 guys, and including himself. And I crossed the border without nothing, without a passport. And understood when you have Tefila BeTzibur, when you come together in a tzibur, automatically your Tefila is much more powerful. As opposed to sometimes, let's say, I finish with that, let's say you go to a rally, I'm against the mask, one darbiyad with that, Kaitesh. Come 10 people, 15 people, already police comes to see, to make sure there is no fight. But I mean, numbers make something. Therefore, as well, when the Tefila BeTzibur, let's say myself, this morning I came already, wake up early. When I was late, I could just jump into Tefila. I said, no, Tefila BeTzibur, I have to go. Baruch Hashem, I found a minyan not far from here. I came, I was able to daven Tefila and hear the Shiur. Hazak Baruch
לזכות את הסנפי החיבה להם תרמסו שנאמר, אדוני חפץ בן צדקו ידיר תורה וידיר.